Well, today we're copying Sleep Token by remaking the instrumental to their song Granite as accurately as we can. The song was produced by Sleep Token and Carl Baum, and Carl Baum has produced a lot of great records throughout the years, and seeing him work with Sleep Token just makes sense. I'll break the instrumental down by sections and each of the sounds that were used and also the processing. I'm also going to be adding some commentary on the songwriting to help you better understand the song. All of the tracks of the remake are available for free to download in the description below, along with the MIDI files, the preset files, a comprehensive list of every sound and effect that I used, what equipment Sleep Token usually uses, and also some songwriting advice that I got from remaking the song. The song's tempo is 120 BPM and the key is B natural minor, and this is the sound that plays almost throughout all of the song. I spent 2 weeks trying to recreate the intro sound. First I tried with guitar palm mute, then marimba, steel pan, pan flute, and still no result. Then I tried making it from scratch, but couldn't figure that out. It sounds like it's made with FM synthesis, and honestly I'm not an expert on that. Then I tried looking into some sound design Discord servers, but still found no help. I looked up what scenes they use in their live shows, and I saw that they usually use either like a Nord Electro 3, a Roland RD700, or a Roland RD88. So I tried looking for VST emulations for them, but unfortunately couldn't find anything. So I DM'd Carl Baum hoping he could solve my problem, but unfortunately he couldn't help me out. The people that work with Sleep Token are made to promise that they won't disclose any of the details about the production. So I spent literal days going through presets and all of the scenes that I have. In total, I tried over 4,000 presets from all of these synths. The closest I could get was this preset from OBXAV called Cheese Keys with a lot of changes on the knobs. Here's how it sounds. This doesn't sound that close to the song yet. You see, I was looking at the spectral shape of the original synth and I saw that it has some weird harmonics with peaks at the 5th and the minor 7th. Now, 99% of natural sounds out there have way different harmonics, with the most present peaks being at the first octaves. So I came with the idea to use a Foreman shifter to basically shift those peaks down, just as in the original synth. Here's the sound again without the Foreman shifter. Amazing. This is M Foreman shifter from Melda Productions, and I tweaked the Foreman shifting knob by about 5 semitones down. I've added a transient shaper to reduce the attack and a tonal EQ to shape the sound closer to the original. I also hear that the original has some type of pitched attack, so I automated the pitch wheel to have a slightly detuned transient. Altogether, this is the pattern that it plays for most of the song. For mixing, this is what was used. First thing my bandmate used was a Pro Q3, which is an EQ, to shape the sound, then a transient processor, which is Transgressor 2, to control the peaks further, and then a multiband compressor, which is Pro MB from FabFilter, to get the sound even closer to the one in the song. Then a small amount of saturation, and a limiter to control the peaks even further. There's also some noise playing in the background, and it sounds like a 15 IPS tape noise, so I used Retro Color 20 for that and ran it through another RC20 for that flutter sound. Sulfur on your breath, Granite. Firstly, the kick. It plays a repeating 2-bar pattern. The kick I remade is actually 2 kicks layered on top of each other. Be careful though if you wanna do that, they have to be in phase, otherwise they're gonna sound like crap. The first kick that I used is this Drumforge Drumshots Coley Deep Kick Cut. And the second kick I used is Drumforge Drumshots Daniel Bergstrand Kick Stick. You can hear in this section that the drums are heavily filtered, so this is the mix and FX chain to get a similar sound. The first thing in the chain is an EQ, which is Pro Q3 from FabFilter to shape the sound. The second most important thing in the chain is this compression, which is VBC FG Gray from Slate Digital. Third thing to give it some reverb is this Valhalla Room. And the fourth thing in the chain is this Pro Q3 again to shape the sound further. And with all of that, this is how it sounds now. For the clap, it plays a simple repeating pattern, just hitting on the 3. Firstly, I tried using one shot to recreate the clap from the song, but in the original you can hear each clap is slightly different from each other, so I actually used my microphone and recorded a whole bunch of claps in my living room, all from different distances. You can hear the clap in the song is quite wide, so I hard panned some of the claps that I made. For the mixing effects, this is what was used. There's a lot of effects in this chain, but I'm going to show you the most important ones. So first of all, we have 2 reverbs here, and then using the EQ and compression from CLA Mix Hub. And then the most important EQ in the chain is this one. We have a high cut to tame the highs, and then some dynamic EQ curves to shape the stereo image of the sound, controlling the mids and the sides. And then we have a transient shaper taming the transients and taking down the sustain of the sound, so it's shorter. And now it sounds like this, just like in the song. There is also synth bass coming in, and for this one I used the elf bass preset from Modular V, and this is all of the knobs that I changed. This is the pattern that it plays. In the song you can hear the synth bass is pretty wide, so I tried using serum effects on bassline to get a similar sound, but actually a chorus effect was what it needed. I used the chorus in the VST in the Modular V, and here are the settings. For the mixing effects, this is what was used. I won't go through all of the VSTs that we used, but only through the most important ones, and we'll make a separate video going more into depth with all of the VSTs that we used, for you to see everything that was used in the mixing. You see, there's a lot of VSTs used for the synth bass, but we'll go through the main ideas on why we used them. The main idea of this whole chain was to add something to the sound and then control what we added. So you see here we added some reverb and then we controlled that reverb. Then we added some saturation and then controlled that saturation that we added. Then we go on to add some movement with the filter freak and the tremolator, and then control that with some compression and some EQ. And we repeat that process till we get the desired sound. We put literally all of our time into making these videos, so if you find value on them, hitting subscribe would be greatly appreciated. What I really like about this section is the bass. The pattern is a bit more complex than what you usually hear in pop songs, and the chorus effect makes it feel so cinematic. It feels like you're entering a tunnel. Firstly, the bass pattern changes. Also, there's an ambient plug playing this pattern. For this one, I used the same sound as the main intro sound, with just a few different knob tweaks and also some different processing. My bandmate used a small amount of compression with TLA76 and Soothe 2 to remove any harsh frequencies. In the original song you can hear some bell-like high frequencies, so I layered it with a bell from Serum. The sound is Black Octopus sounds very bell adventure, and I've added these effects to it. In terms of mixing, this is what my bandmate used. A similar chain was used to the one before on the ambient plug, but now we also have a FabFilter Pro Q3 to clean up some low end and to give it some more peaks at the high mids. Underneath all of this there is a pad that sounds like a soft vocal kinda, and this is the pattern that it plays. The sound is Omnisphere Vox Pad Dark Wheel The processing on the drums also changes. This new kick is similar to the one before, but we also added a clipper because the one in the original song sounds a lot more squared. And for the clap we have some automations here. First of all, the volume increases slightly, then we decrease the amount of reverb, and we also bypass the multiband compressor. And there is a layer on the kick that sounds kind of like a blowback delay. So I use the same claps as before, just more filtered and reverbed. We also have some noise impacts in this section. And I use the same Serum bell as before, just distorted and reverb to hell to make it kind of like a tonal noise. On top of that, there's some more noise from RC20 coming in, but now automated to have a decay. Another layer of noise is this white noise downlifter from Big White Noise Pack, Drop Noise number 4. At the end of the section there is this reverb snap. For this one I used the snap missionary from Saint the Chase drum kit and put this reverb on it. What I noticed when remaking the beat was how empty this section felt without all of the noises in the background. And that snap at the end is just... I was more than just a body in your passenger seat, and you were more than just somebody I was destined to meet. There's some big changes happening. For now, let's start with the drums. Firstly, the filtering goes away. For the kick, we added a retro color to give it a noise layer, some saturation for some higher harmonics, a gate to make it shorter to remove the tail, and finally a transient shaper to soften the attack. For the clap on this part, we added more reverb with Valhalla Room, then compressed that even more. We also had to reduce the transient a bit more than the previous clap. Then we had to brighten the sound with fresh air and standard clip. The sound is also a bit more controlled with Pro MB and other compressors. And finally, the sound was too long, so we had to use a gate to shorten it. In addition to that, there is also an aux send to another reverb to make it even bigger. Then there are some hi-hats playing. It sounds like a classic trap hi-hat sound, and for this one I used the MZ Cardiac 2 hi-hat from this kit I found on Reddit called Mike Zara Stash. Then I pitched it down a semitone and then upped it by a few cents just to make it exactly like the one in the song. This is the pattern that the hi-hat plays. Along that there is another hi-hat here, which basically is the same hi-hat just reversed and slightly shortened. There's also two other snaps coming in to add some more bounce to the drum pattern. For the first one I used the Snap AO, the second one is Snap High, both from the Saint the Escape drum kit, and then shortened them in the envelope. The synth bass stays the same, but there's another bass guitar VST coming in as a layer to give it some more attack. The MIDI is the same as the synth bass, but there's spots where the real bass doesn't play and some spots where it plays quieter. For the sound of the real bass I used the Hardcore Slap True Staccato from Trillion, and then automated the volume to feed the tracks just like in the original track. And with the synth bass now. Another sound that's coming in is this right band arpeggio pluck, and it plays this pattern. It's the same preset as the ambient pluck with just different processing. Lastly, for this section we have a pad that sounds kind of like a low male voice, like a baritone. So I used this Omnisphere preset Gregorian Man Mms, and it plays the same pattern as the synth bass. I just love the hype of this section. Vessel's flow combined with the drums just makes me want to bop my head instantly. The synth bass preset changes, now it's more harmonics added and a punchier attack. The real bass attack layer stays the same with just a different automation now. On top of that, I added a horn pad layer from Omnisphere, the Jupiter horn pad for some more higher harmonic content, and it plays the same notes as the synth bass. The baritone pad stays the same, and then there are these big synths that start playing the same pattern as the bass, just on different octaves. To get this big sound I used multiple layers. For the attack I used the same bell preset from Serum. For the sustain part I chose Darkseid Volume 2 Lead Cosmos from Serum, and layered them with big green strings from Omnisphere. And then ran them through this Serum effects. For the mixing, this is the FX chain. We added a lot of saturation throughout the chain to make the sounds brighter, and also a lot of compression and some EQs to clear out the harsh frequencies. And together this is how they sound playing the pattern in the song. It gets quieter. We have the same drums as before, just more filtered this time. We have some ambiental noises, and to remake them I used these three layers. First one is from Shaman Stems. Second one is from Prime Loops. And the third one is this Blue Zone Corporation industrial ambience. And then ran them through these effects and with this automation. There are also some risers. I used the Long Riser 9, Long Riser 7 and Medium Riser 9 from the GST Chaos 2 pack. By the way, if you ever want to collab or need production, mix or master for your tracks, just DM us on Instagram and we'll be glad to help. Now for the breakdown, man. I really like this part. First thing you hear is this panic chord. and it works kinda like a breakdown callout. In 6-string drop B0 tuning, you play the 18th fret on the first string and the 22nd fret on the second string. The notes are G and G sharp, and played together they make this dissonant chord, generally called panic chords in metal music. When the beat hits, we have some different elements coming in. Let's go over the drums first. Looking through different Sleep Token live shows and their drum playthrough videos, I can see that they use a DW drum kit, and this is also backed by this Instagram post. So for me, I'll use the GGD Invasion for the drums, since it offers a lot of different samples. The kick here looks like a 22 by 18, so I use the Tama Star Classic Bubinga kick, which has the same sizes and close enough in tone to the DW kick. For the snare, I read before that the drummer uses a PA Love Tone snare, and I can also see that in the video right here. So I went with a snare that has similar dimensions to the PA Love Tone snare, which is 13 by 7, and I chose the braided Tasmanian Blackwood, which is 14 by 6.5. I don't have that many tom options, so I chose the low-tuned ones from Invasion. For the cymbals, the drummer uses a Istanbul OM series, a 22-inch Xist Dry Dark Ride, a 14-inch traditional dark hi-hat, and a 10-inch traditional trash. I chose the best sounding library that I have, the Phoenix cymbals, and took down the sustain a lot. Together, this is the pattern that the drums play. Getting into the mixing, this is what was used for the drums. We used some EQs and some multiband compressors to clean up the sub frequencies and the mid-low frequencies of the kick. Then we used the clippers to give us some more higher harmonics. We also added a gate to make the sound shorter. We used a lot of different EQs and compressions because each of them has a different flavor, and each one does a tiny bit of processing. Their snare seems to be a square wave and to have some low harmonics. This is why you see that EQ moved there and some R bass at 183 Hz. On top of that, there is some limiting and clipping. The Pro MB is for more control in different regions. For the toms, we have some EQs to shape and clear the sound. Then saturation and clip to give it some more higher harmonics. Then we compressed the sound and added a gate to it so it's shorter. And finally a multiband compressor to control the sound even more. The toms also have a reverb send-aux, and on the reverb we put some EQ and compression to clear the sound, and also a gate to make it shorter. For the cymbals, we used multiple EQs to clear out the sound. We also used spiff to remove some subtle noises from it and add some more clarity. And finally some compression to control the sound further. The kick, snare and toms are sent to a bus together, where they are compressed together. My bandmate added a NLS bus stereo and a bad bus mojo, and these together reduce the perfect digital sound and make the tracks sound like they were recorded through an analog console. The kick, snare and toms bus and also the cymbals are now sent together to another bus where some glue compression is added. Besides that, we also have another aux track with New York style compression, so all of the drums are being sent here and crushed on this aux track. There is also an analog limiter, there is also some limiting and clipping being done. Bass now. For bass, these are the models that these guys use. A Fender Jazz Custom Shop 64, a Charvel PG bass, a Dingwall Combustion. Judging by the tuning, they use the Dingwall for this one. For the remake, I chose to use the Nuclear Bass Contact library since I don't have a bass that long. It plays the same pattern as the guitar. For the tone my bandmate used, the bass DI goes through Dark Glass Ultra to give it the tone, and then my bandmate split that into two separate buses. First bus is for the overall tone of the bass, where he basically used a bunch of compression and some EQ to clear the sound, and then for the second bus, the grid bus, he used a combination of compression, saturation and distortion to shape the tone of the grid. In the beginning of the breakdown, there is this tremolo synth, so I used the fair and square lead one from Omnisphere and layered it with a breath noise from Serum, and this is the notes that display. Then the intro synth comes back again, but now with some more layers and some octaves on top of it. Guitars now. These guys use pretty low-tuned guitars, and the models they have been seen using are Ibanez 7 with bare knuckle juggernauts, the Strandberg Bowden 7 with EMG 707X pickups, an Ibanez Meshuggah signature, and an LTD EC 1008. More recently, they have some type of partnership with EQ guitars, so they might be using a custom guitar from them, but I can't know for sure since I don't see any EQ guitars in the last live performances. So the best option that I have is my 30-inch custom baritone from Dude Guitars. Actually what happened was we couldn't find new strings to use for my guitar, and the old strings that I had were like 8 months old and were sounding like crap, so we decided to use a guitar VST for that, and we used Shreddage 3 because it's one of the most low-tuned guitar VSTs out there. The guitar tuning of the original song is drop B0, and you're also gonna wanna sharpen the A flat on A natural if you wanna play the intro on the guitar. By the way, this is not double drop B, and this is the pattern that it plays.
Just kidding.
Each guitar's left and right have different processing. For the left guitar, the first thing in the chain is this DR drive pedal. Then we have some more pedals from THU Suite with some low cuts. Then for the amp simulator, we use Archetype Gojira, and the impulse response is from Bowgreen Digital Rhythm IR downtuned. For the right pan guitar, the first thing in the chain is the same DR drive pedal. Then we have a preamp Pre-X7 from Audiority, and for the amp simulator, we use the Auto 11 amp sim. And for the impulse response, we have another IR from the same downtuned pack. After the IR on the right guitar, we run it through an Aldi C2, which is an optical compressor and expander. And finally, we run it through a clear tone Grindstein pedal with the EQ pedal Fleisch. As an advice to get some better guitar tones, you can try putting some distortion pedals before your amp. Then individually, we have some more processing on the guitars. My bandmate added an EQ, which is EQ Citrol 295, and the special thing about this EQ is it can boost frequencies over 20k, and he used this EQ after the amp with a small boost at 30k and a big cut at 2.3k. At the end of every individual chain, we also have a multiband compressor, which my bandmate used to control the frequencies below 1k. On top of that, the guitars also have a sidechain send to the cymbals, so as to not to clash with each other. Also, the ambient plug comes back here again. Before the vocals kick in, there's the same reverb snap as before. I honestly did not expect this metal section to happen. This section works so well because it's basically the same pattern as before, just on different instruments. In the outro, we have the same filter drums playing 2 more bars. Amazing. As a producer myself, I have some more things to say about the song. There's so many subtle changes in the instrumental, especially in the evolving reverbs. The exact same kick, clap and synth pattern is played throughout almost all of the song and it never gets boring. Vessel the singer reminds me so much of Bon Iver, and the lyrics are pretty iconic too. Okay, bye.